What is up there, YouTube? This is J-Man Time, and today I have yet another video on some rare weapons from Africa, or rare and obscure weapons and technologies from Africa. And in this video here, we're going to go over some rare weapons and advanced concept vehicles that have been developed in the nation of Zimbabwe, since Zimbabwe emerged from the former nation of Rhodesia, starting in 1980 until present. Now, Zimbabwe is one of those countries you never hear about when it comes to military weapons, vehicles, aircraft, or any kind of advanced technology. But believe it or not, some rare weapons, vehicles, aircraft, drones, and other concept weapons and aircraft have been developed in Zimbabwe since the year of 1980, when the country was formally renamed Zimbabwe from the old Rhodesia. And we're going to go over the rarest weapons that have been developed in Zimbabwe since the year of 1980. And the first vehicle on the list is actually one of the rarest armored fighting vehicles ever manufactured in Africa, and that is the Zimbabwe Gazelle fast reconnaissance vehicle that was developed between the year of 1981 and 1982. This armored fighting vehicle here is a Zimbabwe reconstruction of a German-made Mercedes-Benz U1100 Unimog 416-2.5 ton truck. And this was a prototype fast reconnaissance vehicle that was manufactured for the Zimbabwe Defense Industries, also known as the ZDI. This vehicle was designed by Ian Stanford, who was a former Rhodesian turned Zimbabwe military figure / inventor in the year of 1981, again for the Zimbabwe Defense Industries, or ZDI. The vehicle was based or inspired by the South African but failed MRAP, or Mine Protected Vehicle. This vehicle here had a main armament of one 20mm Oerlikon, or one Yugoslav-made Zestava M55 autocannon, one 12.7mm or one 14.5mm heavy machine gun, and a detachable rotating turret. Its armor thickness was 4.5 to 6mm and up to 10mm of spaced armor. It also had 40mm bulletproof laminated glass. Speed was 80 km per hour or 52.8 miles per hour. It had a maximum combat range of 700 kilometers and a crew of 2 and could carry between 2 and 4 troops. Now, the Gazelle FRV was designed for both the Zimbabwe Armed Forces, but also designed as an export weapon, as again it was designed on behalf of the ZDI, or Zimbabwe Defense Industries. Now, keep in mind, in the early to mid 1980s, Zimbabwe was actually involved in a number of armed conflicts, mainly the Civil War that was happening in neighboring Mozambique between the years of 1977 through the early 1990s. And during the Mozambique Civil War, this Gazelle FRV was actually used by the Zimbabwe 1st Mechanized Battalion in the Zimbabwean intervention in the Mozambican Civil War. Now, this vehicle again was designed originally by Zimbabwe's 1st Mechanized Division by a man by the name of Ian Stansfield, and it was used by the 1st Mechanized Battalion under Jesse Hickman. Jesse Hickman and about 600 Zimbabwe Special Forces of the 1st Mechanized Division were stationed in the town of Titi in Mozambique during the Mozambique Civil War. Now, during the Civil War, you had the Mozambican government forces known as Frelimo versus the rebel group known as Renamo. And during this conflict, the civil war in Mozambique was actually spilling over into neighboring Zimbabwe. And this Gazelle FRV was actually used by the Zimbabwean 1st Mechanized Division based in the border city of Titi in Mozambique during the Mozambican Civil War. Now, this vehicle was also tested by Kenya, or was showcased to the nation of Kenya, also in the late 80s and early 1990s, but the Kenyan armed forces did not take this vehicle seriously. According to the Zimbabweans themselves, it was a pretty fast and advanced vehicle for its time period. Now, later on in the 1990s, this vehicle seems to have been decommissioned at some point, either in the 90s or in the early 2000s, but that's really it. There's not much history or information out there about the rare Zimbabwe Gazelle FRV from the 1980s. A rare Zimbabwean armed vehicle that was pretty advanced for its time, but unfortunately did not make it past the prototype stage. And only one vehicle was manufactured and used during the Mozambique Civil War of the 1980s and early 1990s. Now, the next series of Zimbabwe military and civilian slash military inventions or weapon systems were manufactured by one man. In the early 2010s, a Zimbabwean inventor by the name of Maxwell Chikumbutso, also known as Sangolani Chikumbutso, unveiled a number of advanced weapons concepts and utility vehicles that could be used by the Zimbabwe Armed Forces if the Zimbabwean government ever decided to fund these projects, which unfortunately, as of 2025, they haven't, and these projects are still listed as being in development. So let's go over some of the rare weapons and utility vehicles manufactured or designed by the Zimbabwean inventor known as Maxwell Chikumbutso, also known as Sangolani Chikumbutso. And the first vehicle designed by Mr. Chikumbutso is the Saith IS-487HB helicopter from the year of 2015-2016. And this is a prototype or experimental light utility reconnaissance helicopter that was designed again between 2015 and 2016, and it was designed as a hybrid propulsion helicopter. This helicopter reportedly uses 6 different types of fuels. You have your standard aviation fuels and 5 other different types of fuels, which Chikumbutso so far has not unveiled, as he claimed that this is a secret. He does not want any competitors knowing how his helicopter functions. Now, this experimental hybrid utility helicopter has a maximum speed of 85 kilometers per hour or 52.8 miles per hour and a maximum range of 700 kilometers. And it has a crew of 2. And again, this aircraft was unveiled back in the year of 2016. And as of 2025, there only seems to have been one prototype of this helicopter built by the Saith Group. Saith Group is the actual name of the company that Mr. Chikumbutso owns in Zimbabwe. So only one prototype of this helicopter has been unveiled, and it reminds me of the smaller version of the German/French-made Aerospatal 350 utility helicopter, but a little bit smaller. It also kind of reminds me of a Bell 206. Now, funny enough, Mr. Chikumbutso actually owned a Bell 206/Bell 207 helicopter in the early 2010s, and this helicopter seems to have been based on that, except it uses experimental hybrid propulsion engine. But that's really it. Not much other information has been revealed by the Saith Group on this helicopter, the Saith IS-487HB helicopter, an experimental hybrid propulsion helicopter / light utility helicopter / light utility and potential reconnaissance helicopter from 2016. Another experimental aircraft / weapon system designed by Mr. Chikumbutso is the Saith Pro Max UAV, which was unveiled back in the year of 2020-2021. And this is a prototype unmanned electric jet UAV, reconnaissance and potential ground attack UAV that was designed between 2020 and 2021. This unmanned UAV has a maximum carrying capacity of 45 kilograms or 99 pounds worth of equipment and bombs. The drone has an experimental sound-based engine. This drone has an experimental sound-powered / radio frequency powered engine that takes sound waves or radio waves and converts them into energy for the electric jet engine or electric jet motor. And this drone reportedly has a speed of 600 kilometers or 372.8 miles per hour. And it has a combat ceiling of 11,000 feet. And each of these drones costs about 220,000, 500,000 USD. And it has a crew of 2 ground operators. Now, according to Mr. Chikumbutso, this drone could also be used as a reconnaissance drone, a potential ground attack drone, or as an advanced high-speed surveillance drone. And only 1 or 2 prototypes of these has been built so far as of 2021-2025. Mr. Chikumbutso also unveiled another UAV that year in 2021, known as the Saith quadcopter UAV. This is a 6-bladed unmanned multi-purpose reconnaissance drone that was unveiled in 2021. This drone can be used either as a surveillance drone, a low-tech combat drone that could drop grenades or mortars, or it could be used as an agricultural drone for spraying and developing crops for farmers. This drone is pretty simple. It's very similar to the drones we currently see being used in the Ukraine war, the Russo-Ukraine war, and also in the war in the Sudan, which these types of quadcopter drones are used as low-tech combat drones. Now, so far, only a handful of these drones seem to have been manufactured by the Saith Group since 2021, but that's really about it. Not much other information is known about the Saith quadcopter. It's a basic quadcopter that you could really find in most armed forces in 2025. But since it was designed in Zimbabwe, a country that has very few weapons industries, it is a pretty advanced weapon system for Zimbabwe. And that's basically it. These were some of the rare and advanced weapons and technologies manufactured in Zimbabwe or developed in Zimbabwe since the year of 1980. I would count some of the Rhodesian era vehicles as being developed in Zimbabwe, but I will save those for a video on rare weapons of Rhodesia instead of Zimbabwe, as these weapon systems here and these potential military systems here were the ones that were actually developed during the current era of Zimbabwe, 1980 to present. Which of these were your favorite? If I had to choose, I like the Gazelle FRV, as it is the rarest armored fighting vehicle that I could find so far, manufactured in Central Africa in this case, or Eastern Africa in this case. But what do you all think of this? Please tell me in the comment section below. And until next time, this was J-Man Time signing off.